Stugotz here. Whether you're into podcasts about ghastly crimes or hip-hop rhymes, there's always something new to discover on Spotify. With a mix of originals and many of the world's most popular shows, listening to podcasts on Spotify is easy. Just open the app, tap Browse, and dive into their growing library. Subscribe to your favorites, including our entire archive, so you'll never miss a show. You can also download podcasts for those moments when you're up in the air or going underground. Podcasts on Spotify are streaming right now. Go check them out today.
Bowl season is here. Are you ready to cash in on what you know? Where you play is as important as what you play. The pros play at mybookie.ag. All the lines, odds, and plays, both college and pro, all at mybookie.ag. Play where you get paid super fast and there's never a hassle. Step up and mybookie.ag will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. Use promo code CHAMPION to activate the offer. Don't leave the money on the table. mybookie.ag. Promo code CHAMPION and your first deposit is matched up to 50%. Play where the pros play because they get paid. mybookie.ag.
You know you love the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
That's me, Clinton, filling in on a Wednesday. I write for The Undefeated. I talk on ESPN Radio on the Morning Roast with Mina Kimes and Dominique Foxworth. And you've seen my beautiful face on Around the Horn on ESPN on weekdays. I have but one rule, folks. If you come incorrect in my mentions, I will embarrass you in front of your friends and your family, and I will not apologize. But because it's a holiday week, we've got a special deal going where if you come incorrect right now, this week, I will drop the embarrassment in front of your friends and your family, and I'll just block you. Right now, though, it's time for your SportsCenter update. The OKC Thunder are putting their 5-game winning streak on the line tonight. They host the Raptors at 8 p.m. Eastern, and they're looking to extend the longest active win streak in the NBA. Russell Westbrook is averaging 30 points per game in that span on 58% shooting. The Pats have signed 39-year-old linebacker James Harrison. The 5-time Pro Bowler was released on Saturday after 14 seasons with the Steelers. Harrison has played 38 snaps this season with just 1 sack. For more news and updates all throughout the day, tune in to ESPN Radio. All right, so we've been talking about this Eli Apple situation, and I'm of the opinion that what Landon Collins said was way out of line for a guy who was supposed to be a teammate in terms of his relationship with Eli Apple. Collins called him a cancer to the team, but he didn't even name him. And Eli Apple is a guy that's been dealing with family drama of the highest order, at least in my opinion, in terms of how it affects who you are. We're taking phone calls on this. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. James in Philly, you're on the air.
Clinton. Hey, Clinton, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. So I didn't know my biological father growing up, right? He left, he decided he didn't want to be a father, left my mom. My mom met some other guy. I have his last name. I call him Dad. Now, they got divorced, and I had a stepdad, right? He beat me. I was sexually assaulted as a kid. I mean, I've been through it. And I just say all that because I hate what Landon Collins said, but I don't think that Eli Apple can use, as a 20-year-old, his parents being divorced for poor performance. If he was in middle school or high school even, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there, but he's in his 20s, I mean, a lot of people have been through hard times, and it's not really a good excuse for, poor performance.
Thanks for the phone call. I mean, okay, that's one judgment. I'm not going to knock that. I appreciate your honesty on that phone call, but everything in a family situation affects everybody differently. I'm 36 years old. My parents got divorced when I was 10. You know when I got over it? Last year. And I still don't know that that's necessarily true. And yeah, you can call me names for that. You can say that maybe I need to suck it up or what have you, but you're never really able to discern how something affects one person versus how it's going to affect another. Am I writing off Eli Apple as a problem with the team simply because his parents got divorced? No. I'm just saying that he didn't need, Landon Collins that is, to come out and call him a cancer to the team if he actually cared about this dude as a human being. Now look, obviously they had situations that happened in the interim in terms of him storming out of meetings, in terms of him, just not getting along with his teammates. But overall, I mean, it's the end of the season. Your team is garbage. There is no need to throw that shot, in my opinion, if you're actually a reasonably caring human being. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. 3776 chris in Vegas, you're on the Dan Le Batard Show.
Hey, Clinton, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. So I didn't know my biological father growing up, right? He left, he was in middle school or high school even, I think he was in middle school.
What's going on, Clinton? I was going to come at you first and talk about replay, but listening to all this, first of all, them Bamas in New York ain't got no clear-cut leader on that team. True. Because if they did, somebody would have took the young man under his wing and been like, let me talk to you, young buck. Let me school you. Let me get you straight. Second of all, after the way they did Eli, I would have wanted to get out of there anyway. They are a sinking ship that's going down real fast and ain't going to be going nowhere within the next couple years. And then before I go, do me a favor, send me a care package. Let me get some Ben's Chili Bowl, a couple mixtapes with some Rare Essence, some Chuck Brown, and some Backyard.
Appreciate the phone call, Chris. A lot of DC references there. Ben's Chili Bowl, legendary spot, Rare Essence, legendary go-go band. Very well done. Appreciate that. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Eric in Maine, you're on the Dan Le Batard Show.
Clinton, Happy New Year. It's a real pleasure
brother.
to talk to you. Hey, I just want to keep this focused on football, and everybody's gone through things in life, and I have empathy for people. My parents separated when I was 11, but on to the football subject of things, and I'm a 40-year Giant fan, and so I want to just bring something into this. The Bible talks about the true friends are the friends that will tell you when you're doing wrong and when you're not doing right, and the worthless people in your life are the ones who will kiss you and give you praise when you're not doing the good thing. So Landon Collins is definitely the team MVP of this franchise right now, the way they stand. And as a young player coming into the league, it takes a veteran maybe to point things out to them, maybe more severe than the general public knows. And as far as a football player, a young football player being pointed out for not playing the game the way it's hopefully played, especially by the older school coaches, if you look at what Mike Singletary did to Vernon Davis in his rookie year, not only during the game, pulling him off and sending him to the locker room, but talking about him in the press conference, I can't win with him, I can't play with him, that's way worse than this. This is the head coach coming out. And now, if Vernon Davis and Mike Singletary ran into each other, it is self-proclaimed by both of them that it is a love fest. And Vernon Davis has said many times that the greatest thing that ever happened in his pro career was what Coach Singletary did to him during that game. So would we have perceived to enjoy it more if it was in the locker room and we never heard about this? Probably. But the players know each other way better than any of the fans could, way better than anybody in the press could hope to. And I can only hope as a Giant fan and hope for the best until I get other news that they perceived as other teammates that if Eli Apple is going to stay on this team and be the worthy first-round pick that he was drafted as being, that this needed to be pointed out to him in the most severe way. Now, we've all said bad things to friends in the moment, and then as soon as the door were closed, we started coming up with a plan on how to help them or how to get them help or how to get them through recovery. But I earnestly believe that this was done with ways that the team and the players thought that would maybe jolt him enough. And in comparison, not to repeat myself, what Coach Singletary did was way more harsh, way more in the public. And Vernon Davis, to this point, says it's the greatest thing that made his NFL career.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I appreciate the phone call. I get your point, but look, this wasn't a coach. All right, this was a teammate. And number two, just because what Singletary did was helpful to Vernon Davis doesn't mean that what Collins did is going to be helpful to Eli Apple. And third, he didn't even have the gumption to say the guy's name. That is what irks me in this situation. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Doc in Memphis, what up?
Bro, how you doing, man?
Tremendous. You're on the air.
No, man, I'm just the whole Landon Collins, Eli Apple situation. I'm going to put it like this. I played NFL football once before. We are late in the season. And I guarantee you, with everyone that respects Landon Collins, the way they respect him as far as teammates and other players in the NFL, he has tried every approach he can with this young fella. I guarantee he's talked to him. He's tried to go one-on-one and man-to-man and try to mentor him. especially being a defensive back. But he's obviously one of those young fellas, based off what Landon is saying, that he won't take instruction. You can't tell him anything. He's probably been told how great he is his entire life. He seems like a mother's boy the way his mom has treated him and came out and, just acted around him. So I'm all on Landon Collins' side, man, because sometimes some of these young fellas, they don't want to listen. You can't tell them anything. They're wealthy. They're in the NFL. Just because you're in the NFL, they don't automatically respect you. So I without knowing Landon Collins, but just knowing all the guys and how much they love and respect him, and being in locker rooms before, in high school, college, and on the NFL and in the CFL level, I just seen guys like that. They just would not listen. You can't tell them anything. So this is his last option. It's like, look, we're horrible. He's one of the reasons we're horrible. Everybody looking at us like we just a team that sucks. Yeah, we have a lot of problems going on from the general manager to the head coach. But here this superstar, so-called superstar young fella that won't take any instruction, that does want to be mentored. So here's part of the problem. He's the cancer. So I don't see anything wrong with what he did, because I guarantee he's tried every other approach to try to get these young fellas' attention, and he hasn't been able to do it.
Thanks for the phone call, Doc. I'll repeat it again. If all of that were true and all of that were the case, he wouldn't have any problem actually saying the man's name who he's insulting. That's just me. Celebrate the ones who made your holidays memorable with 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet for free. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Coming up, more of your phone calls. Going to talk a little bit about the NBA as well. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here on a Wednesday. A lot of phone calls, y'all. Y'all apparently pressed to talk about this. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. That's one way to get at me. The other way is the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, at Clinton Yates, at ESPN Radio, at Le Batard Show. Talking about Eli Apple. Some of y'all think that it's no big deal that Collins called him out and called him a cancer. I happen to think that it was a little Bush League and a little cowardly to say something like that in public when he wasn't even willing to say his own name to the guy he was insulting. That's just me. I brought in the notion about Eli's family situation, obviously sort of weighing on him as a human being and affecting his behavior. Some of y'all have said, well, he's a grown man. He should be able to deal with that. In the workplace, you put that stuff aside. You compartmentalize as best as you can. I get that. I just know that it doesn't affect everybody the same way. Family issues. I know that from personal experience. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Ken in Durham, you're on the air.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Mr. Yates. Listen, you can't – I get what you're trying to say, but you can't say it the way you're saying it. You're talking about a grown-ass man in there, and does it speak more to the fact that they didn't have to say who it was, or does it speak more that he didn't say who he was? I think that it speaks more to the fact that he didn't have to say who the heck he was for everybody to know who the heck he was. And you can't be worried about a grown man's feelings because somebody didn't call him out by name. I just think you ought to be celebrating the guy who called out the cancer for what it was instead of worrying about the feelings of the guy who's eating away at the team.
Thanks for calling. That was not a good phone call. Just know that. All right. The mentions and the phone calls go the same. That was not good. Be better, y'all. 1-888-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Jody in Vegas, you're on the air.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
This whole Eli Apple thing, it's so petty. You shouldn't be calling his teammate out in public no matter what. That's weak. And their problem isn't with Eli Apple. It's with the general manager, the coaching, the play calling. Last year they threw Odell Beckham the ball maybe 8 times. They should be talking about Eli Manning instead of Eli Apple. I think they benched him this year, which says enough for itself. And they let Victor Cruz go after he rehabbed his knee, and they didn't even throw him the ball one time. So the coaching, the GMs, New York's organization, it's a big flop until they get turned around up top.
Thanks for the phone call. Yeah, he's not wrong. The Giants are a mess. We all know that. That's not really the point here. The point is about how he's interacting with somebody who is a teammate who's obviously got a personal situation that could have been handled behind closed doors. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. John in South Carolina, you're on the air.
All right, Clinton, big fan of yours, man.
Thanks, fam.
All right, man. I'm not a big Giants fan, but I think that it should have been aired. I think he should have been called out on it. And maybe that will clear the air, so to speak. But I really think it should have been.
All right, thanks for the phone call. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. Look, y'all, the point here is that, like, all y'all calling in talking about this, he's a grown man and, you know, he's acting soft and why are you all up in this dude's feelings? I mean, look, I'm trying to tell you that I relate to this from personal experience. That guy's life got turned upside down. It's a view, in my opinion. You can't say that that didn't affect the way he was able to be a teammate. And if I wanted a teammate to, you know, if I had a teammate, I would hope that they would be more concerned, maybe not more concerned, but as concerned about what's sort of going on in my life as they are about calling me out on the football field. Like, it just didn't seem like, for what it was worth, for what he was willing to say, it made a lot of sense. I just don't understand why Landon Collins felt the need to do this in public when the team is already so garbage, you know, that the season's done. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. James in South Carolina, what's up?
I totally agree with you, young man. I used to be an alcohol drug counselor, and I'm 60 years old, and these people who call in and say he ought to get his act together, he's a grown man, so on and so forth, I'd look at them and say, why don't you tell me how you feel after you lost a child, or you lost a wife, or a husband, or a girlfriend, or something? You can't imagine how something that might seem tragically petty to me racks someone's life for years. And it isn't because they can't deal with it or they're stupid. It is what it is. And I agreed with one of the other callers who said, why isn't the team rallying around this kid? You know, I believe it was the gentleman in Kansas City whose daughter was suffering from cancer. And he was obviously struggling, you know, on and off the field. And the coach from New Orleans bought, you know, 100 of the jerseys or 100 of the shirts, and everybody got around this guy. Where are these teammates and the Giants? It's a chaotic tornado at best. Where are they rallying around this young man? Because you're right. He's 22. He's got a lot of money, and he just got given the keys to a Ferrari, and he doesn't even know how to drive.
Thanks for the phone call, man. Got to get out of here. We're going to do one last phoner right quick. Dan in Ohio, you're on the air. Let's go quickly, fam.
Hey, the situation here has to deal with Landon Collins because he's the one that called him out. So if you think about, remember the Titans, character reflects leadership. So the whole situation is a culmination of everything that's just going wrong in New York City. So if you get rid of the leadership, things can change. Yes, bad things are going to happen to people, and they're going to deal with them in different ways, but it reflects the leadership in New York City.
Thanks for the phone call. Yeah, I mean, this is just what it comes down to. It's a basic empathy argument. You can be a jerk about it, or you couldn't be. But he's your teammate, and that's the choice he made. He didn't even have the courage to say his name on the air. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Coming up, we got Amin Elhassan. We're going to talk some basketball to ESPN Radio.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line right now is Amin Elhassan, NBA insider for ESPN. Amin, I'm going to ask you off top about this 2-minute report situation and, you know, the constant second guessing of calls. For number one, what did you think about the non-call on Christmas Day between LeBron and KD? And number two, what did you think about what the league had to say about it yesterday?
I think when you look at the technical interpretation of the law on record, yeah, he fouled him. Is that a foul you call at the end of the game? I don't think so. I mean, it seemed very incidental contact, which technically, yes, it was a foul, but just I don't know if we should be deciding games based on that level of contact. Now, then you can make an argument, hey, Amin, so you believe the first 46 minutes should be officiated differently than the last 2 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I
absolutely.
Do believe that because
right.
Because the whole point of officiating the way we do in the first 46 minutes, because if you let those plays go in the first 46 minutes, then what ends up happening is you have the 1994 NBA playoffs, like wrestling with a basketball involved, right? So we have to call it nitpick early in the game so that guys will just play basketball and not just clobber each other. But at the end of the game, those last 2 minutes, all right, we can get past the semantics and we can get into, all right, these guys have to decide the outcome of the game and the rest can't bail them out. Now, obviously, if someone gets hacked, you put them on the line, but little ticky-tack fouls like that, I'm all right with that not getting called at the end of the game. Now, as far as the league is concerned, the league is really big on, maybe it was 10 years ago, maybe it was right after the Donahue thing, but they're really into quantitative analysis of their refs, meaning we want you to have the highest percentage of accurate calls. Flow of the game be damned, right? Okay. Justice be damned, because Jeff Van Gundy talked about this on air. He said in the old days, you mess that call up, then you're like, all right, McCabe's ball. Yeah, LeBron technically touched it last, but come on, dude, it's because of all that contact. So I'll give it to the Cavs. They can't do that now because once you've missed a foul call, let's say you had 10 calls for the whole game. You missed a foul call, that's 9 out of 10. To give the ball to Cleveland, now that's 8 out of 10. So the rest of them, they're like, I'm not dropping my score from a 90% to an 80% just for justice. And I'm not, concerned so much with the flow of the game. So they're going to always side with the technical interpretation because that's how they're graded. And so when you look at that last 2-minute report, that's a reflection of the league wanting to keep their accuracy grade high.
All right, well, let me ask you this in that regard in terms of what Van Gundy said as well. He said, unless we're going to start reviewing fouls in that situation, we might want to change the replay scenario altogether. I mean, reviewing fouls opens up a Pandora's box that I'm not ready to be a part of if I'm watching NBA games late. That is just too far, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
We talked about this on the jump yesterday, and there's definitely too much review. I think, the review process can get quicker. Now, I got a very stern text message from the league office after I said this. They said, hey, those guys, as soon as the play happens, before the ref even gets to the scorer's table, Stugotz is already on it. And a lot of those close calls, they've got to go through 7 or 8 different angles. But I still think it needs to be faster because there's too many times where we're sitting at home and after either the first or second replay angle, we're like, oh, clearly he touched it, right? So I think the review process has to get faster. But the other thing also, I'm for reducing the number of reviews and doing that via the very natural process of make it a challenge. Give coaches 2 challenges. And that way we don't have to review every single one. Right. It's up to you, Mr. Coach, to figure out, is this a play? Like, is this worth it for me? Do I need this right here? Or is it one of those things like, all right, let's just get back and because there's plays like it's a tied game and it's 145 and it hits someone's hands and it goes out of bounds. And they're like, oh, that's my ball. Like, look, it's 145 left in the game. Just give him the ball. Let's not dwell on this for the sake of let's make sure that the right party got the ball. No, let's just keep playing. Now, if it's 50 seconds to go, I can see why. Now it is something that is worth arguing about, and that's when you would throw the challenge flag. But either way, we have too much review as it is. It's killing the flow of the game. It's killing the end of games, and that's not good as an entertainment product.
Amin Elhassan joins us here on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Clinton Yates filling in here on a Wednesday. All right, Amin, I am of the opinion that OKC's blend of guys was something that simply was never really going to work at the level they thought it was going to. They've gotten back in the flow of things with Paul George and Carmelo Anthony adding to Westbrook, but there's still this looming situation of George not saying what he wants to do next year, him possibly walking, and if it doesn't truly work out by the trade deadline, they might have an issue. Do you think they've turned the corner?
Well, I think there's a couple of things to unpack there. First and foremost, I think the acquisition of Paul George and Carmelo Anthony was always about one thing. And that one thing is, how can we get Russell Westbrook to sign on the dotted line and give us a commitment, a long-term commitment? They did that, mission accomplished. I think if a year from now we're sitting here and George and Anthony are gone, I think Sam Presti isn't that upset because he's like, look, mission accomplished as far as what we want. We want to make sure Russell Westbrook stays in Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, when you talk about that blend, what needs to happen for it to work? I think, well, first of all, let's just say that they're playing better now. They're actually, looking at the numbers, playing at almost exactly the same level. I think during their start, they were 8-13 or whatever it was. They had a net rating of 2.4 points per 100 possessions. That's an indicator for a team that's not 8-13. That's a team that's above 500. That was ninth best in the league as far as net rating. In their hot streak that they've had since then, 10-2, I want to say in December, they've had a net rating of 2.5 points per 100 possessions, which is also ninth in the league in that span. So really, they've been performing at a level before. They were underperforming as far as their record, and now they're kind of overperforming as far as their record. And the truth is in the middle with what they have right here, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you talk about, you want to move forward and say, all right, well, what needs to happen for Paul George to remain in a Thunder uniform? Everyone's like, well, if they start winning, right, like they are, if they win throughout the year, then he'll stay. I don't think it's that. I think if you're Paul George, you consider yourself a superstar player in this league, could be told, hey, man, just tilt in the corner and Russ is going to hit you with the ball, and then you get an open fit. Like, that's not enough. That's not satisfying enough on an intellectual level for a guy like Paul George. He wants to win, sure, but most star players want to be the reason why their team winning, right? He doesn't want to be Kyle Korver and we're winning. He wants to be Kevin Durant and we're winning, right? And so that involves a more of a level of involvement on offense than what he's getting right now. And so the Thunder could have the number 2 seed in the West by All-Star break, but if Paul George's role in that is, hey, man, just stand in the corner and then play defense on the other end, that's not going to keep him in a Thunder jersey at the end of the year. Be like, hey, thanks for the year. I'm going to L.A. where they're going to shower him with kisses and love and all that. And so it's a weird thing. It's like, it's not just winning. They also have to win and do a better job of involving those guys in why they're winning.
Last thing I'll ask you, I mean, sticking in L.A., Blake Griffin coming back to the Clippers, is that really going to be anything, or what's going on with that team considering the injuries they've had this year? I asked Bobby Marks the same question earlier.
I think, obviously, you know, if you're Doc Rivers, life is a lot different than it was 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, you can make decisions like with the freedom that most coaches don't have. Why? Because I'm not only a client, I'm also the president, right? Right. So, but now you're not the president. You have no control of basketball operations. Doc Rivers is a mortal coach again. And so for a mortal coach, you would say, all right, this, like for an immortal coach, a guy who has all the power, you say, it's no rush. We can do this the right way, because even if this season is shot, the long term is more important. For the mortal coach who's always worried about his job, and that's literally every coach not named Popovich and probably Rick Carlisle, you've got to worry about it. So, like, yeah, Blake's back. Yes, we can make this playoff push. I don't think they're a playoff team. I didn't really think they were much of a playoff team before all the injuries. I definitely don't think it's a playoff team with Blake Griffin surrounded by guys like Sindarius Thornwell and DJ Williams. And it's just not a good enough roster in the Western Conference to really compete. But it also, ironically, makes them good enough to not be a bottom 3, bottom 5 team in this league. And so Blake's going to help them win. I just don't think it's enough to save their season.
He's Amin Elhassan. He's an ESPN NBA insider. When's the Star Wars pod coming out, dude?
Well, we're recording it literally in 15 minutes. So hopefully
thanks for the invite, Playboy.
Today.
Thanks for the invite.
Hey, man. We keep it rotating. It's the only constant is me and Freddie.
I'm messing with you,
That's the only 2 constants on that.
I'm messing with you. Looking forward to it dropping. Thanks, Amin.
All right. Thanks, good.
No doubt. Coming up, gonna talk some more about basketball. Greg Popovich is the man in my book. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. It's ESPN Radio. Gonna talk about a little basketball. But quickly, actually first, Bristol, I want you guys to put this up on the poll. Amin mentioned last segment that he would go to a replay challenge system in the NBA. So let's put this on the poll. Would you prefer a coach's challenge, I guess, situation in the NBA as opposed to what they have now? Better phraseology than that. But I think that's an interesting question. You know, you have to not throw a flag, obviously, but you just have to note, hey, I'm going to measure whether or not this is worth my time. I think that's a very good idea because, as I said before, the watchability factor here is paramount. You can't be stopping games constantly for random replays that take forever. I realize they're not random on some level, but in many ways they are because, you know, it just feels like these games slow to a death crawl at the end. And you know what? Maybe they should be able to pick their spots a little bit more. So let's put that on the poll. Would you prefer a coach's challenge system in the NBA for reviews? That said, speaking of coaches, San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich, look, he was asked the other day after they beat the Nets 109-97 why charitable endeavors are so important to him. Now, if you don't know this, Pop does all sorts of things with charities all over San Antonio, like the San Antonio Food Bank and Shoes That Fit. He is in the public eye for more reasons than just what I'll call his wokeness. You know, Greg Popovich knows his place in the world. He understands his own privilege as a man, as a white guy, and as a rich white guy. He talks about this stuff all the time. There are various people that think Greg Popovich should actually run for office because he is such an aware and smart individual. You might remember him from being gruff on the sidelines to various reporters at halftime and stuff, but when it comes down to it, he's a very thoughtful individual whose track record in terms of getting invited to the cookout, if you will, is impeccable. I trust Greg Popovich with pretty much everything. That dude knows what's going on. But when he was asked about charitable endeavors, he had an incredible quote. He said this, quote, because we're rich as hell and we don't need it all and other people need it. Then you're an ass if you don't give it. Pretty simple. I mean, drop the bombs. Greg Popovich I love this guy. I feel like every single time he talks about anything that's not basketball, he's the smartest guy in America. His takes on pretty much everything in terms of where we are in this country, what people can and could be doing are fantastic. He's exactly right about this as well. You know, not to get too far off on a tangent here, but, you know, we look at the way things go on in this country at this stage, and that mindset is surprisingly non-normal. Giving back to folks is a basic tenet of what being a good person is. It's the holiday season, y'all. It's not just for show. You know, and you guys are constantly in my mentions and talking on Twitter and talking on various talk shows about how guys who are protesting in the NFL and so forth, well, what are they actually doing in the community? And you don't even pay attention. You don't have any idea the sort of things that guys like Colin Kaepernick have done for various different causes over the years and over the past year. Greg Popovich is a dude who puts his money where his mouth is, like a lot of people do. He's not just one of these people out there bloviating for the sake of doing it. He's a role model in the NBA, and he's a coach. Gotta love Pop, man. Because when you think about it, the NBA is easily the most progressive league there is. They, as far as what they empower their players to do, as far as how they allow people to express themselves that are parts of the league, they're far ahead of the NFL, far ahead of Major League Baseball. In hockey, this is almost a non-issue for various different reasons. But the NBA has a lot of guys who are brothers who sort of a lot of the issues of America speak to very personally. I love the fact that Pop is a dude who understands his place in America and how he can be an agent of change. It's really remarkable how he's sort of come of age, not come of age, but how he's re-identified himself as this super woke, super smart, super caring guy, when for many years he was just looked at as some randomly gruff coach who didn't care about anything. I continue to be impressed with Greg Popovich, which gets back to my feelings about the Spurs in general. The Spurs are a franchise that I feel like, I've said this for years, they're like your overachieving cousin who you have to see every summer or at every family event that your parents are like, why aren't you more like that guy? The Spurs got married this summer. Where's that girl you were dating? The Spurs got a new job. When did you get a promotion? The Spurs are giving me grandkids. What's wrong with you? The Spurs continue to do everything great from a basketball standpoint and re-up and reload and get great guys. And on top of all of it, the coach who's done it all, won everything, developed all sorts of guys, he is an incredibly smart person whom you would absolutely bring to the cookout every single time. For that reason, I actually kind of hate the Spurs because I will never be the Spurs in my life. But Greg Popovich, I'm serious, man. That guy, people say he should run for office. I don't disagree with them. All sorts of people have come from sports and gone into politics. I don't think it would be a bad idea for Greg Popovich. Coming up, going to talk to Diana Rossini, NFL ESPN insider. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. It's ESPN Radio.